The third part of the anime continues. After defeating Daphne and holding Hanami party, the Fairy Tail Guild members are surprised to see Guildarts return, who had been away for 3 years on a century quest. Although in the end, Guildarts did not succeed in completing the mission and instead suffered quite severe injuries. Guildarts tells Natsu about meeting a black dragon and how that dragon forced him to quit the 100-year mission. Natsu tries to run away since he believes that the black dragon might know where Igneel is and how he could find him. But Guildarts attempts to stop him, showing him the severe injuries he received when the dragon attacked him. When he tells Natsu that no human could defeat the dragon, Natsu angrily exclaims that he's called a dragon slayer for a reason and then runs off. Meanwhile, Gajo leaves to search for a cat companion, much like the ones Natsu and Wendy have, but ends up exhausted and empty-handed. Back at the guild, Happy tries to give Carla a present, but she turns him down and gives him the cold shoulder. When Happy asks her to be friends, she refuses and tells him that he can't protect Natsu the way he is now, nor does he know who he really is. Shortly afterward, it starts raining and Wendy tries to find Carla, who just left after nagging Happy. After finally meeting Carla, Wendy advises Carla to be nice to Happy, who always cares about Carla. In the middle of their conversation, the two are greeted by Mr. Gun, who takes off his mask and reveals who he really is. At first, they mistake him for Jello, who should have been arrested, but then he mentions that he only took the name of Jello since he didn't know a thing about this world, and this makes Wendy realize that this was the Jello she met 7 years ago. Before they can receive an answer, Mr. Gun tells them to leave Magnolia since he can't stop Anima anymore, and tells them that Fairy Tail and all of the town will disappear. However, Wendy refuses to abandon her friends and tries to run back to warn everyone. Back at the guild, everyone continues their routine inside due to the rain, while Mirajane and Elfman are getting ready to head out to the church since it's close to the anniversary of Lysana's death. Wendy, still trying to run back to the guild, notices a hole opening in the sky. She manages to make it to the guild but is too late, and the whole town gets sucked up along with the guild. Just as she is about to lose hope, Natsu suddenly bursts out from the wreckage. Carla then flies to where they are with Happy and tells Wendy and Natsu that their Dragon Slayer magic had saved them, so the anima couldn't suck them in. Carla starts talking about a burden she has been carrying ever since she was born in the Earthland realm. Carla reveals that she and Happy are from a different world, and that the phenomenon that just occurred was because of a problem that their homeland, Adolas, is experiencing. The magic of Adolas is starting to disappear, so they created the anima to transfer magic from the Earthland realm to Adolas. She reveals that Happy and her were sent by the Queen to carry some sort of mission, but Happy forgot about it and she chose to abandon it, still feeling burdened. Furthermore, Carla also tells them that Mr. Gun is also from Adolas, because he had known about the anima since 6 years ago. Mr. Gun has been trying to close the anima so that the magic power in Earthland is not absorbed by Adolas. But it seems that recently the anima's power has grown so much bigger that Mr. Gun is unable to seal it off. Despite the dangers they may face, Natsu and Wendy are still determined to go save everyone, and Carla, reluctant at first, decides to follow them after making a few conditions, which includes killing her and Happy if they do anything that could betray them. After making their decision, Happy and Carla use their wings to fly through the remains of Anima and head straight through to Adolas to save everyone. Flying through the Anima, everyone arrives at Adolas, amazed that such a world exists. Shortly after, Happy and Carla's wings disappear and they fall onto a giant plant. Arriving in Adolas, Carla warns Natsu and Wendy that the magic power in Adolas is limited, so they can't use magic power without certain tools. After making disguises from tree branches and leaves they found along the way, they finally met a local resident who's fishing. Natsu was about to ask the man about something, but after seeing Natsu's hideous disguise, he ran away in fear. Afterward, Natsu and his companions meet two locals who look scared when they see Happy and Carla and call them the Exceed. While trying to chase the two men, Natsu and Wendy accidentally fall into a giant plant which then throw them into a storage building. After finding some disguises, Natsu spots a Fairy Tail Guild mark outside the window and runs towards it. Arriving at the place, Natsu and Wendy see their fellow guild members in good condition. However, Natsu immediately notices that their appearance and personalities are quite the opposite of usual, and everyone's behavior there disturbs them. Shortly after, a girl who looks a lot like Lucy spots them and confuses Natsu for their friend who has been gone for days without giving any news, to the point of worrying her. Soon, Carla realizes that the people here are not their friends, but they are the inhabitants of Adolas who are very similar to the Fairy Tail Guild members in terms of physical appearance. This can be proven because Lucy in Adolas, named Lucy Ashley, has different personality from the Lucy they know in Earthland. Likewise with Gray, Elfman, Kana, and Levi, whose personalities are much different from their counterpart in Earthland. However, what surprised Natsu and Happy even more is Lysana's presence in Adolas, even though she had long since died in Earthland. Natsu and Happy look so happy to see Lysana and want to hug her. But Lucy Adolas, who will be called Ashley, is immediately blocked them and doesn't hesitate to beat Natsu. Soon after, they meet Wendy's counterpart in Adolas who look more mature than Earthland Wendy. Realizing that their friends must be at the royal city, they prepare to leave. But then, someone bursts in and tells them that the fairy hunter and the royal army has located them. Upon hearing that, Ashley immediately orders everyone to stay inside Fairy Tail's headquarters, while Levi Adolas tries to activate a machine with magic power that can move them to another location. Shortly after the royal army arrives, Fairy Tail manages to teleport away to another location. There, Natsu, Wendy, Happy and Carla learn that magic is outlawed, and Fairy Tail is being treated as a dark guild, and it is revealed that the fairy hunter is none other than Erza Nightwalker. Natsu and his companions are shocked because in Adolas, Erza turns out to be an enemy who wants to destroy the Fairy Tail Guild. Clearing up the misunderstanding, Natsu reveals that they are from Earthland, and that they are setting out to save their friends, with the guild members refusing to assist in such a dangerous mission. They tell Natsu that the king of Adolas has disbanded the entire wizarding guilds in order to keep the magic power for himself, and only the Fairy Tail Guild, which is now considered a dark guild. Not only keeping magic power for himself, the king of Adolas also limits the use of magic power among the residents, so that there is no rebellion that can overthrow his reign. However, Natsu still insists on going to the capital city to save his friends. The scene then switches and shows the giant lacrima floating above the royal palace of Adolas. The lacrima is the embodiment of the magic power of the Fairy Tail Guild members and all the citizens of Magnolia who are sucked into the anima. Meanwhile, Erza is seen heading to somewhere accompanied by her two comrades, Hughes and Sugarboy, who are both commanders of the royal army. Not long after, an old man named Byro appeared and approached them. Byro is the chief staff of royal army and also their superior, while the one behind him is Panther Lily, and Exceed, who also the commander of the royal army. Meanwhile in the throne room, a girl named Coco, who is Byro's assistant, is reporting to the king of Adolas, Faust, that she has succeeded in gathering magic power from the residents of Magnolia and turning it into lacrima. However, Faust doesn't seem too happy about it, because the magic power has not been able to make Adolas the strongest kingdom. At the same time, Natsu and his companions who are heading to Capital City bump into a giant frog and try to fight it, but they realize that none of them can use their magic in Adolas. Luckily, they are saved by Ashley, who decides to give them directions and help them a little. At the same time, Gajil, who apparently survived because he has Dragon Slayer magic, arrives in Laon and tries to find information about his friends and also the giant lacrima in the palace. However, the residents ignore him, and Gajil almost gets into a fight with the thugs who try to intimidate him. Through these thugs, Gajil received information about his Adolas counterpart, who turned out to be a freelance journalist who always criticized the government. Therefore, Gajil Adolas is hated by the residents, so they ignore Gajil, whose face is similar to his Adolas counterpart. Upon hearing that, Gajil tries to find his Adolas counterpart, hopes to get information from him. Meanwhile, arriving in Laon, Ashley takes Natsu and his companions to a black market to buy magic items that they can use to fight. Shortly after they purchase the items, the royal army locates them and Natsu instantly tries his new weapon, which produces a giant blade made from flames. His effort is made useless thanks to the shields that the army uses, and for overusing his already limited weapon in one use. Just then, Wendy accidentally uses her magic item, which summons a giant twister and sends the army flying some distance, which allows them to escape from the army. While hiding out in a building, they hear the army making a rattle and are surprised to see Earthland Lucy with them. They immediately rush to help her, but are surprised that Lucy can use her own celestial spirit magic, managing to summon Scorpio and Ares to fight the army. While hiding out in a forest, they learn that Lucy used Horologem to hide out against the anima and that Misto Gun is the one who sent her to Adolas. Earthland Lucy then boasts about currently being the current strongest fairy tale mage, as she is the only one who has her magic with her, and the group then formulates a plan, with Ashley realizing that they may be able to change things in Adolas. While hiding out at Sika City, Ashley decides to abandon them and head back to the guild so she can persuade the other guild members to help them. The next morning, while wandering around, they spot an airship belonging to the royal army and decide to hijack it so they can make it to the royal city faster. However, when Lucy tries to summon Loki, Virgo appears instead and their plan hits a major problem. However, they are saved by none other than Natsu's counterpart, Natsu Dragneel. When they stop, they are surprised to learn that Adola's Natsu has driven them all the way to the royal city, as well as his split personality of a confident driver to a shy boy who is afraid of Ashley when he's out of a vehicle. When Dragneel leaves and the group enters the city, they are surprised to see that magic isn't outlawed in this town and are shocked when they see a giant lacrima. They learn that the people at the royal city claim it to be given to them by a god. Upon learning that, the fairy tale mages, especially Natsu, are outraged by the king's arrogant nature and greed, with Lucy trying to calm him down. Knowing that their friends are trapped inside the lacrima crystal, the mages try to find a way to release them and realize that the king might know a way to undo the spell. On the other side, while in a pub in the royal city, Dragneel overhears some townspeople talking about the extraction of magic power from a giant lacrima by the kingdom, which would be completed in 2 days' time. He approaches the group the same time as the man beside him, a man with dark blue suit and matching hat, does. The two both try to inquire about the lacrima extraction, but suddenly stop after seeing each other's face, a face which is similar to their own. Dragneel later learns that his lookalike is his idola's counterpart. He also learns that, although their worlds may be different, their personalities are quite similar. After devising a plan to save Earthland Dragneel's guild from being converted to magic power, the two go separate ways, with Idola's Dragneel using his connections in Idola's to their advantage. Concurrently, Carla starts having visions about the kingdom and some secret routes that they can use, so they decide to infiltrate the palace and have Gemini take on the king's form and his memories so they can find the answer they're looking for. However, they are ambushed and captured by the army led by Idola's Erza named Erza Nightwalker. Just when Happy and Carla try to get them to stop, they immediately bow down, call them the Exceed, and thank them for their successful mission, greatly shocking them since Carla thought their mission had something to do with the Earthland realm. After Natsu and Wendy are captured, they try to get some answers but have only learned that Lucy will be executed, and that the Exceeds carried out their mission perfectly. Natsu, who was thrown into prison with Wendy, then asks Hughes about Happy and Carla. Hughes informs them that Happy and Carla are the Exceed and will return to their hometown, Extalia, after having successfully completed the mission. The Exceed turned out to be on a mission to kill the Dragon Slayers in Earthland. But some time ago, their mission had been changed because the King of Idola's wanted the magic power possessed by the Dragon Slayers and wanted to take it away. The next day, Idola's Dragneel later arrives at the northern part of the city plaza where the giant lacrima is being guarded. He begins to scribble on his notepad and is spotted by the guards who quickly surrounds him and demands to know who he is and what he is doing. Idola's Dragneel merely replies that he is a journalist and is hoping to interview the guards about the ceremony. When the guards refuse to answer his questions, Idola's Dragneel tries to ask them whether guards are positioned in the southern part of the plaza as well. Idola's Dragneel then heads to the south side of the plaza just as the parade begins. He discovers from a lax guard that there are no guards stationed in both the west and east side of the plaza. With the new information, he sends a hand signal to his counterpart, telling him where to go. After the extraction commenced, he pulls out a cylindrical rod which he uses to shoot a firework that forms the letter N. He then pulls 4 more rods and shoots them, causing the 4 letters to appear in the sky, forming the word North. With that, he makes his exit just as Earthland Dragneel proceeds with his part of the plan. After receiving information from Mistogun that his friends and all the citizens of Magnolia were turned into the giant lacrima, Dragneel attacks the guards and tries to destroy the giant lacrima. However, when Dragneel managed to destroy the lacrima, something unexpected happened. In the meantime, Happy and Carla wake up in a room to meet up with another Exceed, Natty and Nishia, who congratulate them too. Shortly after, they learn that originally Queen Shagat was supposed to send them to Earthland when they were still in their eggs, ordered them to kill the Dragon Slayers, but then the Queen decided to change their mission at the last minute to capturing the Dragon Slayers. But they had no way to reach them and tell them about the change, so when Carla and Happy brought Natsu and Wendy to Idola's, they unintentionally carried out their mission. Carla then breaks down because she thought for sure that she was abandoning the mission by helping them rescue their friends, but instead led them to a trap and failed to protect Wendy. However, Happy stands up for Carla by saying that they aren't Idola's puppets, but mages of fairy tale. They decide to escape and try to save their friends on their own, being labeled as the Fallen in the process. After a short chase through the town, they hide in a wagon, but it rolls down the hill with them on board. When they wake up, they find themselves in a field and then locate a giant lacrima, even bigger than the one they saw before, and realize their location as well as where their friends are being held. Shortly after, a farmer named Lucky shows up and helps them by hiding them from the army and in his house. There, Lucky and his wife, Marl, treat Happy and Carla with hospitality, and they learn that the reason they saved them is because they were banished from the kingdom. Marl explains that she and her husband had been exiled from the kingdom for opposing the plan of sending 100 eggs to Earthland to exterminate the Dragon Slayers. She then expresses her warm sense of parenting and helps Carla to rediscover her heart and courage. Even though Lucky and his wife allow Happy and Carla to live with them, Happy still decides to rescue their friends and tries to think of the next course of action, with Carla still feeling guilty. However, Marl's words manage to get to Carla, and she regains her senses, deciding to head out along with Happy towards the royal capital and save their friends. They jump off the edge of Extalia and then realize that the reason they couldn't fly before was because their minds were troubled, but now there is nothing to worry about and their wings sprout again. As they are leaving, Lucky and his wife comment on Happy's growth and reveal that they are actually his parents and that they are proud of what he has become. Back at the royal capital, the army captain and Faust learn that the humans of Earthland can store magic inside their bodies just like the Exceeds. Faust informs his subordinates that Queen Shagat ordered that Lucy was to be executed. Hughes thinks that it's a waste, but Byro informs him that, with their current abilities, they are still unable to extract magic power from human, but are capable of extracting from dragon slayers since they are not really humans. Byro then informs the group that if they manage to extract the power of the dragon slayers, they will gain near infinite amount of magic power. Hearing this, Hughes and Coco cheer while Faust orders Byro to start with the extraction of both the dragon slayers and the giant lacrima. With that, the captains, except for Panther Lily, leaves. Panther Lily tries to talk to Faust regarding the recent bolstering of military armaments, but realizes his place and just leaves instead. As Panther Lily leaves, Faust stares at him with anger in his eyes. Meanwhile, Lucy recalls the dialogue between the Exceed Queen and the humans. Erza Nightwalker walks in and is mistaken for Erza Scarlet, with Lucy trying to ask for help, but she just drags her out of the cell, intending to push her from the palace and kill her. Lucy learns that this Erza is an enemy who enjoys hunting fairy tale mages. Just as Lucy gets pushed off, Happy and Carla arrive just in time to catch her. Later, Carla tries to get some info as to where Natsu and Wendy are by pretending to be Queen Shagot's daughter. Carla manages to find out their location but fails to save them, as the army is informed that she and Happy are the fallen. As they try to retreat, Captain Nishia and an army of Exceed arrive and try to seize them, with them realizing that the Exceed have them cornered both from the air and the ground. Just then, the king notices the army of Exceed arrive and decides to initiate Code ETD, which results in the Exceed getting turned into a giant lacrima crystal and causing the royal army to panic, unsure whether they did the right thing or not. Faust reassures his soldiers, telling them that there are no angels and that they are only people. With this, he declares war on Extalia. Coco begins to panic with what they've done, thinking that the queen will attack them and that the Exceed's forces are exceedingly greater than theirs. Faust reassures her, saying that it is the reason that they have the dragon slayers. Concurrently, Code ETD gives Happy and Carla an opportunity to escape and get inside the tower where Natsu and Wendy are. As they run down the stairs to where they are attacked by Erza Nightwalker and her army and realize that the army is already draining the magic out of their friends, which could kill them. Despite Carla demanding them to return Wendy, Erza ignores her and prepares to kill her, but Happy defends her and tells her to kill him first. Just as she is about to do so, an explosion occurs behind the army and Erza Scarlet with Gray Fullbuster appear to join the battle, being able to use their magic. While Erza holds off her Adola's counterpart, Gray and the others head towards where the dragon slayers are. They then learn that Gajil is also in Adola's and is fighting the army, and that the lacrima they saw in the courtyard was actually just Gray and Erza, which Gajil released them from with dragon slayer magic. Realizing that Gajil can use his magic to revive the others as well, Happy flies towards Gajil and takes him to where the lacrima is located. When the others finally arrive at the room where Natsu and Wendy are, they find out that they are too late, but then Gray pulls out a bottle of pills to feed Natsu and Wendy. They soon regain consciousness and learn that Gray and Erza, as well as Lucy, were all able to use magic due to the pills Misto Gun had given them all. The moment Natsu wakes up, he charges out of the room and Wendy informs the others that the army plans to use Dragon Slayer magic to smash the giant lacrima into Extalia and create eternal magic. Team Natsu then decides to find the king and stop him, while Wendy and Carla head to Extalia to try and warn everyone. Meanwhile, Happy manages to locate Gajil and flies him to the lacrima. But just as he is about to smash the crystal, Panther Lily arrives using his wings and carrying a giant sword to stop him. As Natsu and his gang continue searching, they come across an amusement park, with Sugar Boy and Hughes waiting to engage them in battle. Gray fights against Sugar Boy while Natsu fights against Hughes. But despite being able to use their magic, they still find themselves having a hard time against their enemies' magic items. Natsu soon gets taken out because Hughes can control everything in the park, and puts him on a magical roller coaster which results in the former's motion sickness. Gray gets stuck in the ground but manages to escape and tries to attack Sugar Boy, but his attacks all turn into water due to Sugar Boy's magical item which softens his attacks. At the same time, Lucy manages to release Natsu from the roller coaster and they land in a lake. Hughes then explains that sacrifices need to be made if Adola's is to have eternal magic. Enraged, Lucy summons Aquarius but soon learns that Aquarius is unable to control the water thanks to Hughes and they get washed into a haunted house. At the haunted house, Natsu and Lucy wake up and Lucy finds herself in a machine which switches her clothes. Natsu then decides to use the machine and hopes that Hughes will get distracted by Lucy in a sexy outfit, but it fails miserably. Meanwhile at the palace, the king and Byro discuss their plans of using the dragon chain cannon to hit the lacrima into Extalia, with Byro handing over the key of the cannon to Faust. Just then, Coco arrives and tries to tell the king to delay his plans since Lily is fighting near the lacrima. However, Faust refuses and says that one death makes no difference. Coco, who is in shock, steals the key and runs away, while the king and Byro try to stop her by attacking her legs, but she still continues running away. While Natsu continues fighting Hughes and his army of monster mannequins, Lucy runs outside and bumps into Coco. Shortly after, Pyro shows up and demands for the key, which Lucy mistakes for her celestial spirit keys, and decides to defend Coco from Pyro. As they start fighting, Lucy summons Taurus to fight against Pyro but learns that Pyro's magic involves throwing liquid with varying effects, which takes out Taurus in an instant. Lucy then summons Virgo, who manages to trap Pyro in a pit hole for a while, until he takes a liquid which transforms him into a giant humanoid octopus. Upon learning that Lucy is using a lot of magic to summon the zodiac spirits, Virgo decides to give her a celestial whip to aid her in her battle against Pyro. Lucy uses the whip to tie up Pyro's tentacle and sends him crashing into a wall, just as Natsu manages to punch Hughes through the wall on the opposite side, knocking them both out. Realizing that Natsu and Lucy are trustworthy, Coco decides to hand them the key and ask them to stop the king's plan. But before they grab the key, Sugar Boy arrives and snatches it away. Concurrently, Gray arrives on a motorcycle and chases after Sugar Boy. After a short chase, Gray manages to catch up and learns that the key is what they need to activate the cannon. Gray then uses his ice make magic and makes Sugar Boy crash into a wall. Gray then grabs the key and encases it in ice. Since the royal army needs the key, Sugar Boy can't use his magic on the ice, for fear of destroying the key. While Gray continues freezing the key, it starts to crack and Sugar Boy tries to get Gray to stop since they need the key to use the cannon, which can help save their friends. However, Gray refuses to listen and shatters the key, also finishing Sugar Boy off. As he walks away, Sugar Boy mocks him, saying they have lost all chance of rescuing their friends, but Gray just laughs and says he can make a replica with his ice. In the meantime, while Godzilla is fighting fiercely against Panther Lily, Wendy and Carla manage to reach Extalia and try to warn the residents about Faust's plans to destroy Extalia. However, the Exceeds don't believe their words and feel confident that their queen would protect them because the Exceed was much stronger than the human race. Back to Adola's, when Natsu catches up with Gray, he is a little surprised to see the key destroyed, but then learns that Gray can create a replica and that they can use it to turn everyone back to normal. Shortly after, Erza Nightwalker shows up and captures them. Natsu and Gray are later seen seemingly unconscious and tied up, being taken by Erza past a gate to where the cannon is. Erza Nightwalker tells Gray to create a duplicate of the key while taking Natsu as a hostage. Gray has no choice but to obey Erza's orders. However, Gray secretly trying to hit the giant lacrima with the cannon, and it's revealed that Erza, who held Natsu hostage, was not Erza Nightwalker, but Erza Scarlet, who is their comrade. But their plan fails and Erza tells Natsu to move, knocking out some of the soldiers as she takes the king as hostage. The mages then order the soldiers to change the target of the cannon to the lacrima itself, but the plan is thwarted by Erza Nightwalker, who appears from above and attacks Earthland Erza, releasing the king and returning the cannon to its original target in the process, which then fires. Lucy then arrives with Coco on a giant monster called Legion to save and take everyone to Extalia and stop the lacrima. Upon seeing that, Erza Nightwalker cuts her hair so as not to confuse herself with Erza Scarlet and also show her determination to kill Erza Scarlet and her companions. At the same time, Panther Lily, who is fighting with Godziel, tells Godziel unhappy about the king's plan to destroy both the lacrima and Extalia by crashing the floating island where the lacrima is located to Extalia. Even though it's impossible to stop the lacrima's movement, Godziel and Happy are determined to stop it in order to save Extalia. Meanwhile, in Extalia, startling revelations are made by the Queen, showing everyone that she only has one wing due to her lack of magic power. With everyone shocked, the story continues to unveil as the elders say that they do not decide who will die, but it was thanks to Shagot's precognition ability that they knew who was going to die. Thus they build a husk around this fact to mislead the humans and make them fear, as the Exceed were once ill-treated as a race. Upon knowing the truth, Carla screams at the Queen for trying to manipulate her before she was even born. Shagot's only response is giving Carla a sword and asking Carla to give her the capital punishment for her crimes, while telling everyone else to evacuate Extalia. Carla refuses and flies to help her friends to save her homeland, Extalia, alongside Natty. When the strength of the mages proves to be not enough to push the lacrima away from Extalia, the entire population of Extalia, including the Queen, to the surprise of many, arrive to try to stop the giant lacrima from ramming on Extalia. Suddenly the lacrima disappears and Misto Gun appears, who explains that thanks to them, he was able to find an anima large enough to send the lacrima back to Earthland and return everyone to normal. He then reveals himself as the Prince Misto Gun Jello of Adolas, who Panther Lily once saved many years back. Misto Gun is actually Jello's Adola's counterpart, which explains Misto Gun's resemblance to Jello. When Misto Gun and Panther Lily finally reunited after so long, suddenly Panther Lily is attacked by Erza Nightwalker along with the royal army, who have arrived to attack the Exceeds with a group of soldiers on legions. When Misto Gun tries to stop Erza Nightwalker, the king appears inside an enormous dragon-like machine called Dorma Anim, which nullifies all external magic attacks. Showing up with Dorma Anim, Faust yells at Misto Gun, who just sent the giant lacrima back to Earthland, that he no longer has a son like him. Mr. Gun tries to convince his father that there's no more reason to fight with the Lacrima gone, but Faust only said that he's merely eliminating all of his enemies, even if it's his son. Faust then decides to eliminate Mr. Gun as top priority because with him gone, no one else can interfere with Anima and his plan, while declaring that the power of King is absolute. Faust orders the soldiers to capture the Exceeds, while he himself will eliminate the rebels and the Earthlanders. Mr. Gun tries to defend them from the Dorma Anim, but is quickly defeated. Just as Dorma Anim is about to strike down the fairy tale mages who are riding Coco's legion, the Dorma Anim is suddenly beaten 3 times, revealing Natsu, Wendy, and Gajiel, who decide to take on the king, leaving the rest to deal with the soldiers. As the battle continues, Wendy casts supportive spells on Natsu and Gajiel while they fight with the Dorma Anim, making them faster and stronger. Faust then fires some tracking missiles after Wendy, but Natsu intercepts and destroys them. When the king is about to shoot again, Gajiel hits the missiles before it can launch, but gets hit off by the tail of the Dorma. A group of missiles is fired again, but these ones explode before Natsu can hit them. Faust gets surprised when Natsu eats the fire of the explosions while Gajiel starts eating the tail of the Dorma. Suddenly, the Dorma changes color and Faust states that he is going to drain all their fighting spirits with Dorma Anim, Black Sky. The new form of the Dorma Anim grants it a huge increase in power, turning the fight in the king's favor. Trying to gain the upper hand, all 3 of them attack at once with their respective roars, but it has almost no effect. Natsu, Gajiel, and Wendy are getting overpowered by the Black Dorma Anim that, according to Faust, multiplies the power of the original Dorma Anim. Faust then attacks with an unnamed spell, causing multiple pillars of energy to erupt from the ground. Natsu is angered by the king, saying that everyone else is suffering from the lack of magic power while he has such an enormous amount of it. Faust replies, saying that as a king, it is only natural that he charge a national tax from the people. Faust tells the 3 that it is his responsibility to win for activating the magic power draining machine. Angered, Natsu promises to defeat him for everyone that lives in Adolis. However, the king proclaims victory, saying that although they have infinite magic, once it runs out it takes a while to recharge. Meanwhile, after surrendering the battle to Natsu, Wendy, and Gajiel, Mr. Gun reveals that he lost on purpose to save Panther Lily, and he recruits Panther Lily's help for their one last job. At the same time, Lucy and the others are having a tough time fighting the royal army, but are assisted by Adolis fairy tale members that arrive and battle against the army. Lucy Ashley has succeeded in convincing her guild members to fight with the Earthland fairy tale who not only wants to save their friend, but also wants to protect everyone in Adolis. When Adolis and Earthland fairy tale continue to battle with the royal army, the fight between the 2 Erzas continues as they show off the monstrous power of their blades and armors. Finally, the 2 women exchange their final blow with the 2 of them collapsing due to lack of magic power. Then Erza Scarlet lectures Nightwalker about the importance of love and friendship over magic, telling her that she will still be alive without any magic like now and that life itself is strength, overwhelming Nightwalker as tears roll down her cheeks. Adolis Erza has now finally understand the very meaning of living and loving and thus surrenders. Back to Mr. Gun, after reaching the room where anima is produced, he reveals his plan to open a reverse anima in order to send all of the magic in Adolis to Earthland, leaving Panther Lily shocked. In the anima control room, Mr. Gun carries out his plan, leaving the people of Adolis in distress. He tells Panther Lily that there has to be a villain and a hero and he will play the villain, ordering Panther Lily to kill him and become the hero and the king of the new world. Panther Lily refuses to kill him, arguing that Mr. Gun should become the king instead, telling him that if he destroys the world then he should take responsibility by leading it instead of dying. When Mr. Gun tells him that this solution won't quell the chaos, Panther Lily offers to be the villain instead, but Mr. Gun is adamant in his decision. As the fight against the king continues, the Dorma Anim is proved to be a formidable opponent and Gajiel suggests that they attack with their roars at the same time, saying that they have no other choices left. Natsu and Wendy agree and the 3 cast their roars. The 3 attacks merge and causes an explosion. Gajiel thinks that they've won but the group sees the Dorma Anim in the air. Upon seeing that, Wendy begins to lose her hopes but Natsu tries to tell her and Gajiel to attack once more. Faust then attacks the group with a Dragon Rider's spreader cannon, and it causes a huge explosion and injures the 3 Dragon Slayers. Natsu, Wendy, and Gajiel are slowly running out of magic power and are being overwhelmed by the Dorma Anim. Meanwhile, noticing that his opponents are already out of magic power, Faust prepares to capture them. Wendy and Gajiel begin to lose their hopes but Natsu stands up, telling his comrades not to give up. Natsu then challenges Faust who uses the Dorma Anim to stomp on him. Natsu is able to hold it his own and throw the Dorma Anim's feet off, telling Faust do not underestimate Dragon Slayers. Faust attacks Natsu again just as Gajiel stands up and pins the Dorma Anim to the ground. Gajiel tells Natsu to do it and Natsu turns to Wendy, asking her to attack him with a roar. Wendy follows his instructions and sends a Sky Dragon's roar at him. Natsu uses the rotation of Wendy's roar to strengthen his attack. The Dorma Anim is then destroyed with the 3 Dragon Slayers' combined attack. Afterward, Faust is sent outside of the Dorma Anim and begins to regret wanting to covet the 3 dragon slayers' magic, as he sees them as dragons. Faust falls unconscious after seeing his opponent's strength. Concurrently, Misto Gun successfully reverses anima that causes the islands are falling from the sky and the magic power of Adolas being sent to Earthland. He thinks that without magic, there would no longer be any reason to fight over it. This, however, also causes the public to fall into a panic since they don't know how to survive without magic and think it's the end of Adolas. Panther Lily vehemently objects to the plan, instead offering to become the villain while Misto Gun acts as the hero. Misto Gun also refuses to this, arguing that his plan would allow Panther Lily to live a happy life, but Panther Lily retorts by saying that he wishes for Misto Gun to be happy as well. Having reached an impasse, Misto Gun concedes that his plan was faulty from the start. They are then interrupted by a guard who tells them that 3 people are destroying the city. Initially believing it to be an ordinary riot, Misto Gun is shocked to discover that it is being caused by Natsu, who boasts being the evil Great Demon Lord Dragneel responsible for defeating King Faust and stealing the world's magic together with his underlings, Gajiel and Wendy. It turns out, the Exceed Natty had overheard his plan to act as a villain and revealed it to the 3 dragon slayers, who have decided to play the part themselves. Upon hearing that, Misto Gun runs out into the city to stop Natsu, thinking his act won't fool the public. Misto Gun then shows up, saying that there's no reason to fight anymore with the king defeated, but Natsu doesn't listen and revealed Misto Gun's lineage towards the masses, revealing him as the long-missing Prince Jello to the public. The Great Demon Lord then taunts Misto Gun to fight him if he doesn't want Natsu to destroy the whole city. Natty reveals to the prince that after finding out about Misto Gun and Panther Lily's argument, Natsu and his comrades decided to become the villain and take the fall. Since the anima is taking away the magic from Misto Gun's magic items, he and Natsu resort to hand-to-hand combat. Knowing that Misto Gun doesn't intend to return to Fairy Tail after this, Natsu reveals that their fight also serves as his personal farewell ceremony for him. After Natsu and Misto Gun recite the 3 rules of leaving the guild together, the 2 land their final blows against one another. Natsu falls in defeat, and the entire city erupts into a celebratory cheer to praise Misto Gun for his victory. At that moment, the reversed anima portal transports Natsu, his friends, and the entire Exceed race to Earthland together with the world's magic power. Before leaving, Gray lifts up the spirits of the Adolas Fairy Tail Guild by saying that what makes a guild is not magic power, but the allies who support one another. Then, as the anima starts absorbing the dragon slayers, they pretend to be suffering to further enhance their act and make Misto Gun a hero. When they are far enough to not be seen by the people of Adolas, they smile and say goodbye to Misto Gun one last time. Misto Gun bids farewell to Panther Lily and the members of Fairy Tail, then turns to the people of Adolas, declaring himself to the cheering city as their new king and tells his people that he will lead this world and that they will continue living, even without magic power. When the anima starts taking everyone back to Earthland, everyone says goodbye to the people of Adolas. Upon returning to Earthland, much to everyone's surprise, the Exceed have also followed them. Carla, who is still holding a grudge against the entire population of Extalia, immediately expresses her disapproval of the Exceed's presence in Earthland. The Exceeds regret their actions and apologize to Carla and Happy. Queen Shagot and the Exceed elders explain the truth about sending Happy and Carla to Earthland. They say the mission was all a lie. Due to the Queen's power, she could see Extalia destroyed, so in order to keep their species alive, she sent 100 eggs to Earthland to protect them, and lied about the mission to kill the dragon slayers to the other Exceeds. However, Shagot did not expect that Carla would actually have precognition, just like her. Even Carla could know the future when she was still in the egg. Because of that, Carla thought that killing the dragon slayers was her mission. It also explained why Happy had no knowledge of the mission nor his true identity as the Exceed. After apologizing, the Exceeds leave on good terms with the humans and swear to find the rest of the eggs, although Shagot has not told Carla yet that she is her mother. After that, Gajiel wonders what happened to Panther Lily, who later appears in a small form similar to Happy and Carla's, requesting that he joins the guild that the prince once stayed at. Gajiel then happily hugs his own cat. Panther Lily then states that he caught a suspicious person and everyone, especially Natsu, is shocked when that person is shown to be Lysana. When Lysana sees Natsu, she runs towards him and hugs him. Then she hugs Happy and greets both Gray and Erza. She notices Lucy and Wendy too, and deduces they must be the Earthland versions of their counterparts back in Adolas. Gray then asks if she's Lysana of Earthland, to which she replies positively. Everyone is further shocked, and Happy and Natsu happily try to hug her, but Erza stops them and states that Lysana died 2 years ago. Lysana then explains the truth to everyone about how Anima absorbed her when Mirajane tried to heal her, and that after waking up in Adolas she found Adolas' fairy tale. There, everyone mistook her for her Adolas counterpart who was said to have died after falling from a high place, and Adolas Elfman and Mirajane were overjoyed to see their sister alive again. Lysana explains she would have felt bad if she told them she wasn't actually the sister they knew, so she just pretended all that time. Lysana continued the act when Natsu and others came to Adola's, shocked to discover that they are the Natsu and happy from Earthland. Natsu asks why didn't she tell the truth when they first met, to which Lysana says that she couldn't bear the weight of hurting her adopted siblings. However, when the anima sucked the living beings with magic inside away, she began to glow. She tried to explain to her siblings, but Mirajane and Elfman of Adola's revealed that they already knew. Mirajane pointed out that she was as kind as their own Lysana, but she couldn't let her siblings worry any longer. As Lysana tearfully screamed out their names, Mirajane asked her to give them their regards. Meanwhile at Cardia Cathedral, Mirajane and Elfman are about to leave. Suddenly, they are surprised to hear the voice of a girl they knew. Turning around, their eyes widen as Lysana approaches, and all of them cry as they hug each other for the first time in 2 years while Natsu and the group happily watch as the Strauss siblings reunite. Back to Adola's. After being crowned the new king of Adola's, Misto Gun delivers punishment upon Faust and the former captains of the royal army. He banishes his father from the royal city while he sentences Nightwalker, Hughes, Sugarboy, and Byro to help reconstruct the city with the townspeople. Meanwhile, Coco is vindicated for helping the fairy tale mages against Faust. Despite the former captain's disapproval, Faust accepts his punishment and leaves. Misto Gun bids farewell to his father with his guild's signature hand gesture and begins the reconstruction of Adola's. With the whole Adola's ordeal finally over, Lysana returns to the guild with her friends and siblings, where the other members greet her warmly and happily. They even begin a celebration for such a miraculous event. This celebration, however, quickly turns into a brawl when Gajil tries to get the Exceeds to fight one another, but accidentally starts one between the members instead. At the newly established Magic Council, the new members voice their complaints about the recent issues regarding Fairy Tail. Despite Org's arguments being in their favor, the new head of the council, Grand Dame, announces that they will forcefully disband Fairy Tail if they cause trouble once more. Elsewhere, within a forested area, a mysterious young man with black hair is attacked by wolves. Despite him pleading for them to leave him be, they persist in attacking him. However, his power is unwillingly activated, and he ends up taking the lives of the wolves, as well as the floral life around him. He mutters sadly that he wishes to meet Natsu soon. A few days later, Lucy is surprised by Kana's appearance at her house, where Kana reveals that she wants to resign from the Fairy Tale Guild. Because Kana looked sad when she said that, Lucy goes to Mirajane the next day and tells her about Kana. However, Mirajane tells Lucy not to think too much about Kana's words because Kana often acts like that. At the same time, the guild grows excited at the announcement of the annual S-Class Mage Promotion Trial. Makarov states the venue is Tenru Island, Fairy Tale's holy ground, and the 8 participants are Natsu Dragneel, Gray Fullbuster, Juvia Loxer, Elfman Strauss, Kana Alberona, Free Justine, Levi McGarden, and Meskrider. Makarov continues to explain that only one of those 8 will become an S-Class Mage, and that each participant needs to have a partner that isn't an S-Class Mage. In addition, the S-Class Mages such as Erza, Mirajane, and Guildarts will participate as examiners, and the participants must be able to defeat them as one of the conditions in order to become the S-Class Mage in Fairy Tale. Concurrently, Carla sees a vision of Natsu and Kana crying, a lifeless hand on the ground, and the face of the young man in the woods. Later, the participants start looking for their respective partners. It is certain that Natsu would partner with Happy, and surprisingly, Gray chooses Loki as his partner because they had promised last year. Juvia initially wants to resign because she wants to partner with Gray, but Lysana then approaches her and says that she wants to be Juvia's partner. On the other hand, Freed decides to partner with Bixlow, while Elfman couldn't help but partner with Evergreen, who glares at him. Meanwhile, Levi, who is still confused about choosing a partner, is approached by Gajil, who seems eager to make Levi an S-Class Mage. That night, Carla tells Wendy that she had a bad feeling about the S-Class Mage promotion trial on Tenru Island. When Carla wants to tell Wendy about her vision, one of the S-Class examinees, a young man named Meskrider, approaches Wendy and asks her to be his partner, which she accepts. Meanwhile, Lucy is walking home, finding Kana, who is drunk and lying in an alley. Lucy takes Kana to her house, where Kana then expresses her desire to resign from the Fairy Tale Guild if she fails to become an S-Class Mage this year. Kana turned out to have participated in the S-Class Mage promotion trial 4 times and always failed. Kana reveals to Lucy about her reason with tears in her eyes. After listening to Kana's story, Lucy is determined to help Kana and become her partner so that Kana can achieve the title of S-Class Mage this year. 1 week later, the contestants go to Harjan Port and board a ship. All the contestants and their partners make their way to the first stage of the exam on the ship. After the explanation of the rules, the trial commences and the contestants race to get off the boat, with each pair trying to get ahead of the rest to reach Tenru Island. The participants are required to choose one of 8 paths to get to the center of the island. Of the 8 paths, only 1 path can be passed safely, while the other paths will be guarded by Guildarts, Mirajane, and Erza, and the participants must defeat them to pass the path. Meanwhile, the remaining 4 paths will pit the 2 teams and they will have to defeat each other in order to advance to the next round. Lucy and Kana are the last to arrive on the island and head through Path C to encounter Freed and Bixlow. Knowing that women are Freed's weakness, Kana uses her magic power to bring out sexy women from her cards to distract Freed, so he can't use his magic power. At the same time, Lucy summons Ares to help her defeat Bixlow after Aquarius refuses to help her. In the end, Lucy and Kana manage to defeat their opponents. When Lucy and Kana have left the place, it is revealed that Freed and Bixlow decided to lose on purpose since they owe Lucy and Kana during the Battle of Fairy Tale, where they had also fought with Lucy and Kana. Freed and Bixlow also believe that one day, Laxus will return to Fairy Tale. At the same time, Natsu and Happy choose Path E as Natsu believes that Erza would be there, but they encounter Gildarts instead. Meanwhile, Juvia and Lysana encounter Erza, Elfman and Evergreen meet Mirajane. When Juvia and Lysana seem so overwhelmed against Erza, Natsu is seen struggling to launch attacks at Gildarts, who only needs to use one hand to fend off Natsu's attack and strike back. In the middle of their fight, Gildarts remembers the past when the young Natsu challenged him to a fight. Gildarts, who was impressed by Natsu's fighting spirit, finally accepted Natsu's challenge and they fought on a beach. Although Gildarts could easily defeat Natsu, he praised Natsu for having a strong determination to become stronger than him. Back to the present, Gildarts then shows his great power to Natsu, which then makes Natsu fall to his knees and surrender to Gildarts. Natsu loses to Gildarts in battle, but Gildarts lets him pass when Natsu learns to accept defeat and fear. Gildarts tells Natsu that having great magic power is not a privilege, but admitting and accepting his own weaknesses can make him much stronger and kinder. Elsewhere, Gray and Loki square off against Wendy and Mest and easily defeat them, but they are having trouble remembering Mest's background and also his presence in Fairy Tale. Meanwhile, Mest finally wakes up after Gray and Loki knock him unconscious. Mest calms Wendy, who's crying because she felt she had failed to help Mest in the trial. Mest and Wendy then talk about the tomb of the first guild master of Fairy Tale, Mavis Vermilion, which is located on the island. Because they had failed the test, Mest and Wendy decide to explore the island, while Gildarts, Bixlow and Freed return to the guild. Concurrently, Panther, Lily and Carla are flying towards Tenru Island because of their suspicions regarding Mest, who claimed to be Misto Gun's disciple. Panther Lily thought that it was impossible for Misto Gun to make someone as his disciple, because Misto Gun always avoided direct contact with the guild members. In the meantime, Elfman and Evergreen must face Mirajane, who employs her signature spell, Satan's Soul. Elfman seems overwhelmed by his older sister, who could easily ward off his attacks. When Mirajane is about to knock Elfman down, suddenly Evergreen stands in front of her, trying to protect Elfman. Gray and Loki finally arrive at the gathering place of the passing contestants and meet Kana and Lucy, who arrive there first, followed by Levi and Gajil, who go through the safe route, as well as Natsu and Happy, who were let through by Gildarts. Soon after, Makarov arrives and tells them that Erza easily defeats Juvia and Lysana. They are surprised by the appearance of Elfman and Evergreen, who manage to defeat Mirajane by catching her off guard. Makarov then announces the beginning of the second exam with the task of finding the grave of Mavis Vermilion, the first master, within the time limit of 6 hours. The scene then switches and shows Erza, Juvia, Lysana and Mirajane resting at the camp. Mirajane then tells about how Elfman and Evergreen defeat her. When Mirajane was about to beat Elfman, Evergreen suddenly stood in front of her and told her that she would marry Elfman in the near future. Surprised by Evergreen's statement, Mirajane was caught off guard and defeated by them. Mirajane then talks about Wendy and Mest, who hadn't returned to the camp yet. Erza begins to worry about Wendy and searches for her along with Juvia. In an attempt to find Mavis' grave, Natsu and the others must confront the monsters that inhabit the island and try to kill them. After escaping the claws of a beast while grave searching, Elfman and Evergreen notice a young man with black hair is approaching them. The young man is none other than Zeref, who is said to have been the darkest, most evil mage in the history of the magic world, mastering the black arts and creating many demons. Zeref warns them to stay back, just as he loses control of his black magic, and stealing the lives of the flora around him. Natsu, just in the nick of time, saves his comrades. Zeref sheds tears of joy upon seeing Natsu, but Natsu, not recognizing him, demands to know who he is and punches him in the face, though Zeref is left unfazed by this. Suddenly, Zeref feels that yet another wave is about to be unleashed, and warns them to run. As the wave is unleashed, Natsu meets it head-on. He is still alive, though for some reason, his muffler has turned black. Since Zeref had fled after launching his attack, Natsu and the others decide to continue the test and try to ignore the presence of an intruder on Tenru Island. Elsewhere, Mest, who noticed the wave of energy, is both happy and excited due to the fact that Zeref is on the island. On an airship, Altair reports to Hades that they have located Zeref. 6 of the Grimoire Heart Guild's 7 kin of Purgatory gather and prepare to attack Tenru Island. Back to the island, Lucy and Kana brainstorm where the grave might be by utilizing the vague hints left by the master, until Lucy comes to a conclusion to where the grave might be. However, unbeknownst to them, Gray and Loki are hiding nearby and eavesdropping on their conversation. On the other side of the island, Gajil and Levi get into an argument because Gajil makes fun of her. While Levi runs away from her partner out of frustration for his demeanor towards her, suddenly she is ambushed by Yamazu and Kawazu, the lesser members of the Dark Guild, Grimoire Heart. Yamazu tries cutting her, but Levi falls to the ground, luckily avoiding the attack. Kawazu is immediately behind her, immobilizing her hands and laying her on the ground so that his partner can finish her, something Yamazu readies to do, stating that one enemy is already going down. Before he can finish off a terrified Levi, Gajil appears to parry Yamazu's attack and save Levi from certain death. Yamazu and Kawazu stare in silence as their two opponents stand back to back, ready for confrontation. Yamazu and Kawazu then mock them, with Yamazu calling the amount of rules in regular guilds suffocating, and Kawazu stating that, in war, there aren't rules. When asked by Gajil why they mentioned war and what is their goal, Yamazu replies that they came to poach all the Fairy Tail Guild members on the island while he activates his magic spell, producing a continuous, extremely loud noise which forces Gajil and Levi to cover their ears. As Levi suffers under Kawazu's egg magic barrages, Gajil dodges a pair of slashes Yamazu performs against him. Then, much to Yamazu's dismay, his spell is nullified by Levi's solid script magic and Gajil delivers a powerful punch on him. Yamazu asks how Gajil dared to do that as he casts his Zon spell, damaging the surrounding area, and, much to his opponent's disbelief, cutting through Gajil's own iron body. He keeps going at Gajil, using his Con spell to harm him further, and subsequently delivering him another damaging slash with his sword magic spell. With both of their opponents down and seemingly unable to fight back, Yamazu tells Kawazu that, if the other Fairy Tails members are at the same level of the ones they just fought, the two of them alone could easily get rid of them all before the main squad arrives. An injured Gajil asks what he's talking about, and Yamazu answers that the entire Grimoire Heart is coming. This prompts Gajil to spur Levi to run off, in order to warn the others about the danger they're in. Before Levi leaves, she helps Gajil replenish his energy by using her magic to form a word from iron. With pure determination and pride, Gajil battles the two dark mages despite his severe injuries in order to defend his guild. In the middle of the fight, Gajil recalls the moment when he was visited by Makarov after the Phantom Lord was disbanded. Makarov told him that Juvia had joined Fairy Tail and he hoped that Gajil would follow in her footsteps to join Fairy Tail. Although Makarov could not forgive Gajil for hurting his guild members, Makarov also did not want Gajil to lose his purpose in life and decided to invite Gajil to join Fairy Tail, so that Gajil could learn the meaning of solidarity and friendship. Touched by Makarov's kindness, Gajil decided to join Fairy Tail. As Kawazu bombards Gajil with his eggs, Yamazu slashes him several times, damaging him. Much to his surprise, Gajil grabs onto his blade, claiming that he wouldn't lose. As Yamazu comments on his power, Gajil cries out that he is a Fairy Tail mage, and breaking Yamazu's word by bending his stabbed arm and then attacking him with his Iron God sword, breaking through his armor and defeating him, before collapsing from his wounds and exhaustion. Just as Gajil defeats Kawazu and Yamazu, Levi returns alongside Erza and Juvia. Yamazu claims that for them it's over, as the Seven Kin of Purgatory, a group of dark mages he couldn't stand a chance against, are coming. He's then confronted by Erza, who asks him what their goal is. He defiantly says that he won't reveal anything, but rapidly changes his mind, being shown revealing Grimoire Heart's intentions. He states that Grimoire Heart is after Zeref, the dark mage from 400 years ago, who's still alive and is currently residing on Tenru Island. However, according to Hades, Zeref is in a slumbering state and his awakening will submerge the world in total darkness. When Erza angrily asks if they want to step foot on the holy land of the fairies and face them in battle, Yamazu warns her that Hades' army is coming, and goes on to list the Seven Kin of Purgatory, stating that one of them has already infiltrated the island, shocking Erza and Juvia. Comprehending the severity of the battle, Erza declares that the exam is now on hold, and launches a signal flare to let everyone know about the enemy attack. The red flare is seen by the contestants around the island. Kana attempts to ignore it, but Gray and Loki interrupt, as they were secretly following the two, saying that they need to focus on the enemy attack instead of the exams. Meanwhile, Carla and Panther Lily encounter Wendy and Mest and tell her to stay away from him. When confronted about his identity, Mest counters that he was a disciple of Misto Gun. Panther Lily knows it is a lie and confronts him about it. Mest, however, teleports in front of Wendy and moves her away from an impending blast. The perpetrator morphs from a tree and introduces himself as Azuma, a member of the Seven Kin. Mest reveals that he's Doranbolt, a member of the Magic Council and was searching for some evidence worthy to disband Fairy Tail. With both Grimoire Heart and Zeref, Mest imagines how big his promotion will be if he succeeds in finishing the job himself. But, in case of emergency, he had a battleship prepared. The battleship, however, is destroyed in an instant by Azuma. This prompts Panther Lily to begin a battle against Azuma. Mest and Wendy also join in to take him down. However, Azuma proves to be too strong for them and easily takes each mage down, without getting a scratch. Meanwhile, Makarov, who is at Mavis' grave, sees the red flare and immediately apologizes in front of Mavis' grave for not noticing the enemy's presence sooner. Makarov also promises that he would protect all members of Fairy Tail and Tenru Island even if he had to sacrifice his own life. On the Grimoire Heart Guild ship, Master Hades and his guild members notice a gigantic Makarov waiting for them and he attacks. Hades orders Carprico to take all the Grimoire Heart members to the island while he deals with Makarov himself. Makarov threatens to cast his Fairy Law, but to his surprise, Hades counters with Grimoire Law. Makarov recognizes Hades as the second master of Fairy Tail, Prect. Makarov, shocked by Hades' true identity, is caught off guard and shot down to his original size. Due to his identity, Makarov does not attack him with his full power. However, Hades has other concerns and easily defeats Makarov with a magic blast, puncturing his body. After Makarov is defeated, all of the Fairy Tail members present battle with the lesser members of Grimoire Heart Guild. Although Erza and her comrades could easily defeat the lesser members of Grimoire Heart, but because there were too many of them, Erza and the others gradually became overwhelmed. Meanwhile, Natsu, who is very excited to fight his opponents, is surprised by the appearance of Zonkro, one of the 7 kin of Purgatory, who walks over to Natsu and declares to take care of him. He throws black flames that Natsu can't eat, much to his surprise. Zonkro claims that Natsu cannot eat his flames because he is a god slayer who has inherently superior flames to those of a dragon slayer. Elsewhere, Lucy, Gray, Loki, and Kana face off one of the 7 kin of Purgatory named Caprico, while Loki and Lucy are surprised to see him for different reasons. Simultaneously, Erza and Juvia also face off against one of the 7 kin of Purgatory, as do the Strauss siblings and Evergreen who face off against them elsewhere. Meanwhile, Altair, who is also a member of the 7 kin of Purgatory, is tasked with finding Zeref's whereabouts and bringing the Dark Mage to the Grimoire Heart. Hades confidently claimed that Makarov's guild members would not be able to defeat the 7 kin of Purgatory, the mighty sorcerers that he personally trained for years and became the wielders of lost magic. In the meantime, Zonkro informs Natsu that he learned his fire magic from Hades. Despite Zonkro's claims that his magic comes from someone with the strength of a god, which Natsu scoffs at, his flames still prove to be stronger than Natsu's flames. Not only that, while Natsu can't eat Zonkro's flames, he can eat Natsu's flames with ease. Zonkro easily blasts Natsu far away from the battle with just a few destructive attacks. In his cocky rage, Zonkro even attacks Wendy, Happy, Carla, and Panther Lily for commenting on their fight. Natsu loses the initial battle against him and is thrown off a cliff where he finds Makarov in critical condition. Despite Makarov's command to leave, Natsu refuses and swears to have revenge on Hades. He battles Zonkro again, who mocks both of them for showing fear and mentions that Hades must have defeated Makarov. Natsu's ensuing rage at this revelation causes him to revitalize with a new fighting spirit that makes Zonkro nervous. Natsu then says that his fear is not of Zonkro, but it is of the possibility that someone other than himself will defeat Hades. He then announces that he will personally take out Hades himself. During the battle, Natsu is engulfed by Zonkro's flames and retaliates by pouring out his own in an attempt to break the spell that Zonkro uses against him. Makarov attempts to crush Zonkro to stop him, but Zonkro sets Makarov's fist on fire and wonders which one will perish first. Natsu's flames are suddenly depleted, to Makarov's horror and Zonkro's joy, but the black flames suddenly start flowing into Natsu's mouth. The use of so much of his powers had made a significant room in his magic reserves, allowing him to eat Zonkro's previously inedible flame. Recharged, Natsu combines the flames of a dragon and a god, defeating Zonkro. Natsu faints, before Wendy and the Exceeds work to heal him. At the campsite, Mirajane and Lysana are taking heavy damage from Azuma's attacks. Azuma recognizes Mirajane as the feared demon and requests a battle with her, going as far as binding Lysana with a tree bomb. In an instant, Mirajane transforms into her Satan soul, but knows that she can't last long. Mirajane, distracted by her sister being taken hostage, cannot concentrate fully on the battle, rendering her unable to proper attacks. With little time left, Mirajane deactivates Satan's soul and chooses to shield Lysana from the blast. The blast engulfs the camp, and as Lysana cries for her unconscious sister, Azuma leaves. In a different place on Tenru Island, Altair finally finds Zeref and requests for his help on behalf of Grimoire Heart. Zeref states that he has no intention of assisting them or having anything to do with those in the current era, and that he doesn't want to witness wars or the death of innocent people. Zeref then tells Altair to stop the attack and leave the island at once, repeating that he is angry, visibly terrifying her with his power. With his intimidation, Altair is left paralyzed. The two engage in battle, where Zeref is powerless against Altair in his sleeping state and is defeated by her, being warned to not underestimate her as she is the eldest of the 7 kin of Purgatory. Altair then says that they have the key which will awaken him. Zeref begs Altair to stop, but she ignores him and revels in her victory. As Zeref lies unconscious, Altair holds onto him tightly, stating that he now belongs to her and that he will become the king of the ultimate magic world. At another battleground, Elfman and Evergreen are battling against Rusteros and his summoned monster. Despite their best efforts to fight back, it is no use and they're nearly defeated. Afterwards, Rusteros reveals the true reason for coming to the island. He then uses his magic to project an image of Zeref in the air, declaring that once Grimoire Heart has acquired Zeref and make him the king, he can live in the ultimate magic world, a world where non-magic users are non-existent. The two mages protest their ideals and continue to battle. However, despite their teamwork, Rustyrose's Arc of Embodiment overpowers and defeats them with an explosion. Meanwhile, in the woods, Natsu, with his scarf reverted to normal by Wendy, wakes up. While Makarov remains immobile, Natsu catches the scent of the person he met on Galuna Island, Zalti, who is actually Altair in disguise, and decides to head to where she is. At the destroyed battleship of the Magic Council, Mest arrives before Lahar, the head captain of the Custody Enforcement Unit, and informs him that Grimoire Heart, Zeref, and Fairy Tail are all on Tenru Island, something which strikes fear into Lahar, who then coldly murmurs about how Grandema, the chairman of the Magic Council, would not hesitate to fire Ithurian in order to take care of the matter. When Mest protests to this, Lahar says that it's not for them to decide what to do, and tells him to inform headquarters of the situation. Mest is ordered to contact HQ, but has second thoughts about it. Meanwhile, Gray and his companions who are fighting with Capricorn are told about Hades' plan to destroy the world and create a new world without the presence of the non-mages. Knowing that there were still 6 members of the 7 kin of Purgatory who might have powers like Capricorn, Loki tells the combatants from his side to stop and tells them to go look for the other 6 members of the 7 kin of Purgatory. He reveals that Capricorn's magic could weaken humans, and as a celestial spirit, he is unaffected by this and can battle on par with him. He reveals the opponent to be Capricorn, who is also a celestial spirit. As they leave, Lucy makes Loki promise that he'll come back to her, to which Capricorn notices that something is familiar about her. Capricorn creates a magic seal with 2 of his fingers and summons the hero of Rubengard, San Jiao Shin, who attacks Loki in the chest with his spear. Loki asks what that was. Capricorn explains that San Jiao Shin is anti-government general that led his forces to victory in the Rubengard Civil War. San Jiao Shin was rumored to have disappeared, but in fact, Capricorn had kidnapped him and made the general his subordinate. Loki is surprised that Capricorn can kidnap and then summon the humans he kidnaps. Capricorn says that it is time for him to ask about Loki's master. Loki asks why and Capricorn responds that it is so he can make her his subordinate. He also says that he already has a hunch but there is something about the girl that he let get away. Capricorn asks about Lucy, and when he realizes that she is Layla Heartfilia's daughter, he goes berserk and summons another hero to eliminate Lucy. However, Loki easily defeats him and the knights he summons afterwards. Capricorn reveals that he broke a taboo which left him with a goat body. Loki realizes that Capricorn has a human possessing him and that human cast a spell that would let him fuse with Loki instead. Trying to stop the fusion, Loki punches Capricorn with Regulus, but is too late in the end. Now fused with Loki's body, the possessor now prepares to finish Lucy off in order to become human once again. However, Capricorn suddenly strikes back with his newly transferred Regulus, and the possessor, Zoldio, is forced out of Loki's body. Zoldio expresses his delight at regaining his original body, but fades away shortly after, as he is now a spirit without a body. Afterwards, Capricorn explains everything about his past with Layla and Zoldio. At one point, Capricorn met and made a contract with a celestial spirit mage named Layla Heartfilia. However, Layla became fatigued and decided to retire from her life as a mage. She entrusted her 3 spirits to 3 new owners. One of the recipients was Zoldio, who took Capricorn's key. At first, Zoldio agreed to the pact, but gradually became swallowed up by darkness and used his magic on Capricorn, breaking a taboo and ending up possessing Capricorn's body. Due to this, Capricorn was able to stay in the human world for 17 years. During this time, Capricorn, possessed by Zoldio, became a member of the 7 kin of Purgatory of the Dark Guild Grimoire Heart as Caprico. After Zoldio disappeared from this world, Capricorn decides to fulfill his promise with Layla by becoming Lucy's celestial spirit. At the same time, Lucy notices her keys were glowing, and announces that Loki has defeated Capricorn to Gray and Kana and that Capricorn has joined them. Walking down the path, Kana suggests that they split up and search for the members of 7 kin of Purgatory so that they could find and eliminate the enemy faster. The trio agrees and Gray separates from Kana and Lucy. Elsewhere, Erza and Juvia face off against Meredy, one of the 7 kin of Purgatory. Before they fight, Meredy reveals to them her guild's objective of awakening Zeref to create a world where only mages can thrive while non-magic users won't survive. Meredy summons magic blades to attack Erza and Juvia. While Erza effortlessly evades the attack, Juvia, even with her water body, is damaged by the magic blades. Meredy notes Juvia's apparent weakness and ranks her 13th on her list, focusing her attacks on her. Upon being demanded by Erza to reveal why, Meredy reveals her list and angrily reveals her desire to kill Gray more than anyone else. This statement sparks a change in Juvia's demeanor, causing her to become livid and unhinged, which shocks Meredy. Meanwhile, Natsu, who followed the scent of the person he met on Galuna Island, finally met Altair and Zeref. Natsu immediately realizes that Altair was the person he met on Galuna Island, even though at that time Altair was disguised as Zalti. Altair then introduces herself as the leader of 7 kin of Purgatory. Natsu tries to fight Altair, but with her lost magic, Natsu seems to be quite overwhelmed while dodging her attacks. At the same time, Kana starts to inquire about the grave of Mavis Vermilion, and Lucy reveals where the grave is most likely to be. But just as she was about to finish, Kana puts Lucy to sleep, apologizes, and leaves. Suddenly, one of the 7 kin of Purgatory, Kain Hikaru, encounters a sleeping Lucy and tries to stomp on her, but she wakes up just in time and evades his attack. Lucy then questions him about Kana's whereabouts, to which he replies that it doesn't matter because he'll kill her soon. He then runs behind a nearby tree trembling and stating that he's strong and that it didn't matter who his opponent is, they wouldn't live if they face him. When Lucy tells him that anyone who challenges Fairy Tail is challenging her, he simply tells her to hold on a second and starts vigorously scratching his head, and then strikes a pose. He then tells her that they are going to fight and says that he'll show her the power of his magic. Then he pulls out a doll and asks Lucy for some of her hair, because his magic needs his opponent's hair for it to work, a request which she quickly refuses. He goes on to explain his ability, stating that if he were to put some of her hair on the doll he would be able to manipulate her movements. This only makes Lucy even more unwilling to give him any hair. Lucy then says that she's never heard of Kain's magic and that she thinks he is bluffing, so he places his own hair on his doll and gives it to Lucy to test. She then hits the doll against the ground and makes it do a split in midair, actions which Kain then repeats. However, upon getting his magic doll back, the battle begins to get intense and serious, with Kain gaining the upper hand as he easily defeats Lucy's spirits. Lucy is sent flying in the clearing where Natsu and Altair are battling, where Natsu's kick coincidentally ends up connecting with Kain's face, saving Lucy from him. Natsu, Lucy, and Happy reform their team in order to take down the opponents. Altair leaves with Zeref at Kain's request as he continues to battle them, attacking Natsu with his magic in order to prevent him from chasing after Altair. As Altair leaves, she tells Kain to show them the terror of the 7 kin of Purgatory. Kain swings a punch toward the ground and Natsu tumbles out of the way. While Lucy moves forward in order to help him in the fight, she suddenly becomes immobile. Kain shows her his magic doll that has a strand of her hair, and reveals that he managed to pluck a strand when he chased her. Kain then takes his revenge by toying with her, and soon gets her to attack Natsu. Just as Kain believes victory is at hand, Happy steals his doll. Kain knocks Happy with one blow and tries to recover his doll, but Natsu takes it instead, trying to counterattack. However, Kain acts faster and delivers a powerful blow to Natsu, which ends with him crashing and being half buried by rocks. Unable to move on his own, Lucy tries to summon Virgo to free Natsu, but has no more power left and is subsequently captured and tortured by Kain. Natsu asks her to run, but she refuses, prompting Kain to kill Lucy by crushing her head. Before he can do it, Natsu uses the doll to manipulate Lucy, beginning a counterattack in which Kain takes a brutal beating. Further boosting Lucy with his own Dragon Slayer magic, Natsu gives Happy the doll so that he can use the speed to further power Lucy, finally defeating Kain with a brutal kick to the face. After defeating Kain Hikaru, Team Natsu decides to travel back to Wendy's location and regroup with the other mages before looking for Grimoire Heart space. In the meantime, at the Grimoire Heart airship, Hades is eating, while an unknown figure known as Blue Note was asking when he could join the battle. Hades orders him to stay, but Blue Note says that if one more of the 7 kin of Purgatory falls, he would join the battle. At the remains of the Magic Council battleship, Lahar and Mest are discussing about Grimoire Heart and Blue Note. Just as Lahar is about to contact the headquarters, Mest takes the communication lacrima and teleports to Wendy's location. Team Natsu finally arrive at Wendy's location and ask her about Makarov's condition. Wendy tells them that Makarov's condition is getting better, although he hasn't fully recovered yet. That's because Tenru Island bestows divine protection upon those bearing the fairy tale crest, making it so that they cannot die while on the island, while at the same time enhancing their magic power. Shortly afterward, Mest arrives and says that with his powers, everyone can leave the island, but Natsu and the others refuse. Despite Mest's attempts to convince them otherwise, they all decide to stay on the island and fight. Meanwhile, Kana, after abandoning Lucy and Gray, reaches Mavis' grave and notices it shining. Elsewhere, Gray hears the rustle of leaves and finds a woman who bore a striking resemblance to her, his former master. She was carrying Zeref, leading Gray to silently continue to pursue her. On the other side of the island, Erza and Juvia experience troubles in their battle against Meredy, as Meredy's spells take effect on Juvia even though her body is made of water. With Juvia down, Erza decides to take on Meredy herself. However, Meredy continues to aim for Juvia, stating that she is number 13 in her list of people to kill and so she would dispose of her quickly since she is worthless trash. She adds that Erza is the 4th, Gildarts is the 3rd, Makarov is the 2nd, and that Gray is the 1st, the person she wants to kill the most because he had killed Altair's mother. This statement causes an enraged Juvia to rise with newfound power and determination. Meredy is forced to defend herself as Juvia begins attacking her relentlessly, shocked by the sudden increase in strength of the mage she had ranked so low. Juvia tells Erza to leave the fight to search for their comrades, including Gray, and prepares to fight Meredy by herself. Meredy tries to attack Erza, refusing to let her target escape, but Juvia covers for her partner with a wave of water. Realizing that Juvia loves Gray, Meredy decides to take a new approach to their battle by creating a sensory link between Gray and Juvia so that Gray will feel the pain she deals to Juvia. This, however, only increases Juvia's determination to defeat Meredy and increases the strength of her attacks. In response, Meredy creates a sensory link on herself, attaching her senses to Juvia and Gray's to ensure that, no matter which one of them will die, Gray will also die. Further enraged by Meredy's resolution, Juvia's magic grows and counterattacks against Meredy. In desperation, Meredy links herself to Juvia and reveals that no matter who dies in the battle, Gray will die with the loser. With her, Juvia, and Gray's senses connected, Meredy decides there is no longer any reason to fight and prepares to kill herself, completely willing to die for Altair's sake. Juvia tries to stop her by breaking her own leg, which damages Meredy's as well. Juvia refuses to kill her, saying that fairy tale mages would never take their own lives or the lives of their enemies. Enraged, Meredy prepares to kill herself anyway, but is stunned into silence when Juvia rushes forward and hugs her instead. As Meredy attempts to kill herself once more, her past is revealed, showing how she was taken in by Altair as a child and how she sees Altair as her mother. Knowing that Meredy has someone she loves, Juvia tearfully begs Meredy to keep living for her rather than throw her own life away. Her emotions reach through to Meredy through their sensory link, causing her to cry as well. Having reached an understanding with Juvia, Meredy decides she cannot fight her and lifts the sensory link off of herself, Juvia, and Gray. Concurrently, in Gray's area, he notices that the mark and the pain from the link have disappeared. However, Altair sneaks up behind him, introduces herself as Erza's daughter, and tells him that she is an ally. Altair continues to comfort and convince Gray, but he refuses to buy any of it, and remains furious that Altair is planning to use Zeref. However, Altair reveals that it was all the will of shocking Gray. Meanwhile, Carla returns to report to Natsu and the others about the status of the fairy tale members at the camp and the location of the enemy's boat. They decide to head out and regroup in order to take down Grimoire Heart while they ask Mess to stall the council for time, despite his protests. Team Natsu rushes to the camp to regroup with their comrades, while Levi, Lysana, and Panther Lily are faced with the threat of Rusteros at the camp and Erza encounters Azuma elsewhere. On the Grimoire Heart ship, Hades realizes that Blue Note has already left for battle after Meredy's defeat. As Natsu's group travels to the main camp, they feel an ominous magic power and meet the Grimoire Heart deputy himself, Blue Note Stinger. His magic is felt by all throughout the island as he makes the ground between the group's feet sink. At the same time, Kana arrives at Mavis' grave and finds that it is shining brightly. Kana tries to touch the glowing grave, but it hurts her upon contact. This instigates runes to materialize, stating that one of the three great magics rest within the grave, fairy glitter. Kana desperately asks whether she won the S-Class Mage promotion trial test, commenting that the last 12 years were for this moment. She reveals the history of how she met her father, Gildarts, who didn't know her. After her mother died when she was 6 years old, Kana decided to go to Fairy Tale to meet her father, Gildarts. However, Kana immediately learns that Gildarts is the most powerful mage in Fairy Tale, so it is difficult to meet him, because he always goes on dangerous missions that take a long time. From then on, Kana decided to stay in Fairy Tale and study Magic Card. After realizing how strong he was, Kana resolved to take the S-Class trial, citing that if she passed, she would feel worthy enough to tell him. Her first attempts were failures, and if she failed once more, she would quit. However, Kana remembers Lucy's declaration to help her pass the test, and at the same time, her Help Lucy card glows. Realizing she had been a fool, Kana cries out that she never meant to betray her friends and begs for Mavis to lend her power. It's then that she is allowed to touch the grave, and a voice, Mavis Vermillions, tells her that mistakes are something that better the heart, and bestows fairy glitter upon her. With this new power, Kana rushes over to save her friends. Meanwhile, Team Natsu, who encounters Blue Note, is crushed into the ground with his gravity magic. After that, Blue Note declares that he doesn't care about Fairy Tale or Zeref, and all he wants is the location of the first master's grave in order to obtain the powerful magic sealed within it, fairy glitter. Natsu questions what he is talking about, and with his magic he forces Natsu into the ground. While Blue Note overwhelms Team Natsu, Kana arrives and attacks him to defend her friends. She then prepares to use fairy glitter. However, Blue Note is able to use his magic to make her lose her balance. He is surprised to see Kana using the magic he covets, and continues to attack everyone present. He taunts Kana and was about to kill her to obtain the magic, when Natsu uses his fire dragon's roar through the ground and attacks him. Blue Note angrily attacks him, but Kana sees this as a chance to attack with fairy glitter. However, Blue Note is able to parry the attack by using his magic. Blue Note then tries to kill Kana again to take the magic from her dead body, but he was stopped by the arrival of an angry Gildarts Clive. Gildarts promptly asks the others to leave, and they oblige, because staying will only get in his way. Blue Note and Gildarts then face off as Blue Note shoots his gravity magic towards Gildarts and flips the ground he was standing on upside down, to which Gildarts disassembles and matches fists with Blue Note, resulting in a large explosion. Blue Note is in disbelief that Gildarts was able to overpower him. Back at the main camp, when Levi, Lysana, and Panther Lily don't have enough strength to fight Rusty-Rose, Freed and Bixlow had returned to the island with Gildarts when they saw the signal flare arrive just in time to help them. Rusty-Rose says the two will not be a match for his Arc of Embodiment magic, but Bixlow and Freed retort that they will do whatever it takes to bring him down for hurting their comrades. Shortly afterward, Rusty-Rose is overpowered by Freed and Bixlow. He tries to defend and maintain an offensive front but to no avail. As Erza runs around looking for her guildmates, Azuma emerges upside down from a tree and calls out to her. Azuma is then seen facing off against Erza, and after the two battle for a while longer with neither gaining a clear upper hand, Azuma comments that he and Erza are the same and that they both pursue strong opponents to fight. Erza, however, replies saying that she only needs the strength to protect her comrades. Azuma then activates his lost magic and uproots the great Tenru tree which had bestowed upon all Fairy Tail members magical strength and protection from death, which results in weakening all of Fairy Tail's magic power, allowing the Grimoire Heart Mages to gain the upper hand against Gildarts, Freed and Bixlow. Azuma reveals that taking control of the tree means taking control of the blessings it bestows upon Fairy Tail members, but reveals that he had left Erza unharmed to commence their battle. Erza says she will defeat him no matter what. Erza starts her attack using her magic armors, which is easily blocked by Azuma, who proceeds to use his magic to attack her. Erza then switches to her flight armor, which allows her to land a hit, but on her second attempt, Azuma defends himself, captures Erza, and uses Tower Burst to injure her. Having had her strongest armors damaged and being on the losing side, Erza attempts a desperate attack on Azuma by striking him with all of her power in a single sword slash. However, Azuma uses the branches of the tree to take hold of her limbs, holding her in place before blowing up a significant amount of magic from the Tenru tree directly underneath her. As Erza lays defeated before him, Jello Fernandez in some distant prison somewhere mutters Erza's name. His words somehow reach Erza despite being tortured and in a cell that prevents the use of magic, and urges her to get back on her feet. Much to his surprise, not only does Erza survive, but she manages to get back to her feet despite being heavily wounded and continues the battle, even beginning to cut him. Azuma tries to hit her once more with his magic spell, but Erza, remembering her friends, strengthens her resolve and she comes out of the explosion straight for him. At first, Azuma looks on in shock that his ultimate attack has no effect on her, but then realizes that Fairy Tail's conviction is their true strength, complimenting that they are a splendid guild. Erza hits him with a powerful sword slash, defeating him and ending the battle. After his defeat by Erza, Azuma lies on the ground, battle-worn, and Erza notices his body is transforming into a tree. He states that it is a side effect of overusing his lost magic. He then tells her that, as promised, he will return everyone's magic power to them. Erza then asks him if he knew a man named Jello. Azuma states that he does and explains that Jello is a sad man who has become obsessed with the idea that Zeref's ghost exists, and that he has lost all sense of reason. Azuma apologizes and reveals that it was Altair's plan to possess Jello, and that she did it to get the Magic Council to take their eyes off of Grimoire Heart. He then goes on to explain that Altair is a truly frightening person. After Erza defeats, the magic is restored and Gildarts quickly gets back into the fight. Seeing this, Blue Note decides to get serious and summons Black Hole with the intent to suck Gildarts into it. However, Gildarts uses his crushing evil magic to crack and shatter the Black Hole, then punches Blue Note into the air, defeating him. Concurrently, Rusty-Rose wonders what happened to Azuma and then summons his Arc of Embodiment magic before trapping Freed, Bixlow, Lysana, Levi, and Panther Lily. However, Bixlow uses his eyes to take control of Elfman's body and attacks Rusty-Rose from behind. The magic is dispelled and Lysana sprouts her wings, kicking Freed to Rusty-Rose, who hits him with dark magic. Rusty-Rose is sent flying before he lands on the ground, and is seen unconscious and defeated. Meanwhile, Altair tells Gray that she would take Zeref from the island and makes a request of him to defeat Hades with Iced Shell. Gray agrees to the use of Iced Shell, saying he's fully prepared to lose his life for the guild. Later, Altair meets Meredy while carrying the unconscious Zeref with her, and reveals how she was able to fool Gray into going after Hades with a made-up story about her mother. To her surprise, Altair reveals that she no longer views Gray as an enemy, but rather as a means to kill Hades so that they may keep Zeref for themselves. Nevertheless, Meredy decides to follow Altair off the island. However, Altair notices the unconscious Juvia next to Meredy and tries to kill her, though Meredy protests, saying Juvia has no strength to fight. Suddenly, Gray appears and rescues Juvia, touching Meredy when he states his will to live for his friends as Juvia had told her earlier. It turns out Gray had not believed a word that Altair said. The two begin their battle, with Gray delivering the first blow. Back at camp, Natsu's group arrives and is shocked to see how many of their comrades were injured, especially Mirajane and Gajil, who were the most powerful mages. After Panther Lily relays the location of the Grimoire Heart ship, they decide to split into attack and defense groups to take on the remaining members of Grimoire Heart. Team Natsu, Wendy and the Exceeds decide to make up the attack team while the rest make up the defense team. While Altair and Gray get into a fierce battle, Meredy runs with Zeref to the rendezvous point according to Altair's commands, though Gray has Juvia chase after her. With them gone, the two battle it out. Gray initially has trouble due to Altair's Arc of Time magic that reverses Gray's ice make. He overcomes that disadvantage when he freezes his own blood, making it immune to Altair's magic. However, Altair makes a surprise comeback with Ice Make, Rose and Crone, revealing that Altair knew the same creation magic her mother used. However, what surprised Gray even more is Altair's words, stating that she really hates her mother because her had abandoned her. Upon hearing that, Gray is furious because he knew that her really loved her daughter. Gray then attacks Altair until both of them fall into the sea. They're still fighting until Altair suddenly had a vision of her mother's past memories. In the past, her apparently entrusted Altair to a facility because her little daughter constantly had a fever due to her magical powers were too powerful despite her young age. They promised to heal Altair and return the little girl to her. However, the cunning brain turned out to want to take advantage of Altair's immense power and lied to her by saying that Altair had died. After defeating Altair with the final attack, Gray tells her about her who had often told him about her daughter and felt deeply lost when she learned that her daughter had passed away. After that, Gray decides to catch up with Natsu and the others to defeat Hades, ignoring Altair, who says that they would not be able to defeat Hades. Elsewhere, Zonkro appears before Meredy while she runs from Juvia. Zonkro sees Zeref on Meredy's back and accuses her of betraying Grimoire Heart together with Altair. Meredy tries to explain herself as Zonkro takes Zeref back, but Zonkro mockingly reveals that Altair was the one who destroyed her hometown in the first place. Mortified, Meredy tearfully tries to deny his claims when Zeref suddenly regains consciousness and, uttering the name Acknowledja, unleashes a dark wave that kills Zonkro and knocks both Meredy and Juvia unconscious. In the meantime, Gray, who is heading to where Natsu was, meets up with Erza, and they leave together to catch up with Natsu and the others. When all the members of Team Natsu finally meet, they prepare to fight against Hades. The Exceeds decide to scan the ship itself while Team Natsu proceeds to battle Hades. Hades invites Team Natsu into his ship, not knowing that the Exceeds are infiltrating his ship, searching for its power source. Team Natsu then readies to confront him, having boarded the airship through the use of Gray's ice stairs. Natsu delivers the first blow, sending a column of fire at Hades while crying out for him to taste Fairy Tail's power. Hades easily blocks the attack, casually asking about that power. However, from the clearing fire, Erza and Gray appear, taking Hades by surprise, and assault him. Hades is not given time to recover as Lucy summons Taurus, who strikes at Hades with his axe. Wendy empowers her teammates' attacks with her magic, with Gray and Erza proceeding to attack Hades again. He dodges and, berating their relentlessness, grabs Erza with his chain and throws her against Gray, sending them both crashing. However, he's rapidly attacked again by Natsu's fire dragon. He grabs Natsu's head with his chain in retaliation, and is on the verge of smashing him away. Natsu, with the help of Gray's ice magic, is sent flying at Hades again. They battle him with everything they have, even creating a unison raid. At some point, they appear victorious, but Hades soon recovers, barely affected by all their attacks. He casts a spell which affects Wendy, who suddenly disappears, leaving only her clothing behind, much to the group's horror. She turns out to be fine after Horologem saves her. Hades reveals to them that he was the second master of Fairy Tail, though Natsu does not believe him. He is easily able to immobilize the group with his Amaterasu, chain magic and bullet magic. At the same time, Mest, who heard Zeref say Acknowledja, then rushes to report to Lahar. Upon learning that Zeref has summoned Acknowledja, Lahar suddenly becomes frightened, and then orders his troops to leave Tenru Island as soon as possible. Back to Grimoire Heart airship, as Hades readies to finish Natsu off with his magic, a powerful thunder breaks through Grimoire Heart's ship, striking Hades' arm and preventing him from killing Natsu. From it emerges Laxus, asking a relieved and surprised Natsu if Hades really is Makarov's enemy. Hades is surprised at Laxus' appearance, mistaking him for a younger Makarov, but is rapidly headbutted by an angry Laxus Drayar. Laxus and Hades soon fight, with Laxus starting off strong. The fairies are astonished by Laxus' strength as he continuously delivers spells and dodges Hades' attacks. Meanwhile, Yamazu and Kawazu take to sabotaging the weakened Fairy Tail mages at the camp. Catching Bixlo off guard, Yamazu pierces him with a spell and along with Kawazu, begins attacking. Despite losing his sword, Yamazu is able to use his magic and manages to cause Frieda's runes to dissipate, weakening their defense. Kain Hikaru shows up as well, and both Yamazu and Kawazu comment on how they can earn a promotion if they are successful. Together, the two of them target Fried and Bixlo while Kain deals with the girls and Elfman. Attacking Fried, Yamazu has his spells destroyed, much to his anger. However, he is soon able to gain the advantage in the battle. Once Elfman joins, Yamazu and Kawazu take on all three of them. Despite their attempts, the fairy tale mages manage to overpower and defeat Yamazu and Kawazu. Concurrently, Kain is eventually taken down by the teamwork of Lysana, Kana, and Levi after falling into one of Freed's traps. Hades manages to surround him with his powerful magic, which explodes, blowing several meters away the injured Team Natsu. However, Laxus rapidly emerges from it, reaches Hades' back and kicks him. After a brief exchange of words with his injured, former guildmates, and having punched the ground with his lightning-enhanced fist, something which surprises Natsu, Laxus receives Hades' blow, which partially destroys the ship and injures him. However, as it turns out, he's revealed to have transferred his remaining magic power to Natsu, who's now electrified, much to Hades' dismay. Spurred by Laxus, Natsu claims he'll give back to Hades all of the pain he caused to Fairy Tail. Natsu, completely revived and brimming with lighting power, charges after Hades with multiple attacks, overpowering Hades, with lightning fire dragon's roar as a finisher. For a moment, they believe he has been defeated. They are proven wrong when Hades gets back on his feet and activates the demon's eye. Meanwhile, the Exceeds are still trying to find the power source of the ship and have entered the air vents. They come across a grate and look through, shocked at what's below. They drop down into the room and try to make out the mysterious power source that they have found. Before they can examine further, a few of the Grimoire Heart members rush inside. Panther Lily battles them in his battle form while Happy and Carla stop the source. With the demon's eye activated, Hades' appearance changes dramatically. Hades cites it as the abyss of magic. He recites a spell from the Book of Zeref which summons demons from the rocks around them. Everyone in the group, including Erza, finds themselves shaking in fear at such monstrosities. Just when it seems they'll give up, Natsu suddenly remembers what Gildarts had told him about how fear allows one to learn their own weakness, repeating it aloud. He gets to his feet, telling his team that now that they know their weakness, they can grow stronger. Just as Hades sends his army of demons at them, the team regains their resolve from Natsu's speech, gets to their feet, and charges toward Hades. With their teamwork, they fling Natsu to Hades at high speed as Hades he summons a spell. The result is a huge explosion that blows up the remainder of the deck. After the smoke clears, it is revealed that Natsu's punch landed on Hades due to the ineffectiveness of his magic caused by Happy and Carla's destruction of the ship's power source, Grimoire Heart, which is actually Hades' heart and the key to his longevity and magic. On the island, Altair restores the Tenru tree with her magic, letting the fairies regain their energy. They all attack for the final time, with Natsu beating Hades with exploding lightning blade. As Natsu gives out a shout, the sun breaks on Tenru Island. The lesser mages of Grimoire Heart come storming in while chasing Happy and Carla, though they run away at the sight of the other fairy tale mages, including Makarov, who have just arrived. They celebrate their victory as well as Laxus' return. Afterwards, they head back to camp except Makarov, who approaches Hades. When Hades reasons that it was all to create the ultimate world of magic and to acquire the one magic, Makarov leaves Hades, reminding his former master of all of the things he learned about magic being alive from Hades himself. The fairy tale mages start relaxing at camp as Juvia returns from failing to chase Zeref. Meanwhile, the Grimoire Heart ship takes off with only Rusteros, Kain, and Hades. Zeref suddenly enters the ship, blaming Grimoire Heart for the use of Acknowledge. He then predicts the end of the current era. Hades quickly orders the two to bring him the keys for Zeref's awakening. However, Zeref states that there is no need since he is already awakened and was never asleep. He then continues his explanation, saying that he had seen countless people die in war 400 years ago and realized how valuable lives really are. That also started his curse of his body, taking lives against his will. In order to stop such effects, he has to forget the importance of lives. Zeref continues by stating that they are the ones who caused him to summon Acknowledge, and he will punish them. Before Hades can ask him anything else, Zeref announces the two crimes they committed, and then prepares a spell that causes Hades' demise. Due to the recent events, Makarov announces that he is going to suspend the S-Class trial, much to most of the candidates' dismay. Elsewhere, Lucy drags away Natsu and Happy so Kana may be able to talk to Gildarts in private. With the three gone, Gildarts asks Kana what is wrong, having seen her sad face. She explains that she came to Fairy Tail to find her father, who she confesses to be Gildarts himself, surprising him as he instantly asks whose child she is, listing out all the women he has been with. Having said what she wanted to say, Kana turns to leave, saying that she is not expecting Gildarts to be part of her family and that they can return to the way they were. However, Gildarts approaches her and hugs her, realizing that her mother is Cornelia, the only woman that he really loved and the only one he married. He explains that he left 18 years ago but never knew that he had a kid. Gildarts continues to hug her, asking for the right to love her. While the two stand in each other's arms, Lucy, Natsu, and Happy watch from afar, Lucy thinking about her own father. Meanwhile, Meredy and Altair leave Tenru Island together on a rowboat. Meredy asks Altair if she truly did destroy her hometown. She becomes angered when Altair confirms it. However, her anger quickly turns to horror as Altair stabs herself with a knife so that Meredy wouldn't taint her own hands by killing her, and tells Meredy to find happiness on her own as she throws herself out of the boat. Not wanting to be left alone, Meredy dives after Altair and rescues her from drowning, using her sensory link to feel Altair's sadness and regrets. Meredy forgives Altair, saying that the fact that she was raised by her is all that matters, and begs her to stay alive so that they may live together. The two then cry and embrace as they drift on the ocean's surface. Afterward, the members of the Fairy Tale Guild start feeling an ominous presence around them. Soon after, a loud cry of a dragon reaches their ears, the cry of the Black Dragon of the Apocalypse, Acknowledge. As the dragon approaches, Makarov orders everyone to stand back and uses his giant magic to expand himself to be able to hold back the dragon. Everyone runs away in tears as Makarov continues to battle the beast. The dragon knocks him down, injuring him. He had believed it would be his end. Suddenly, the fairy tale mages, led by Natsu, arrive and begin fighting the dragon while Laxus helps his grandfather, reasoning that there was no way they could have left him behind. The dragon repels the mages' attacks with little effort as Gildarts realizes that it is holding back, unlike when he fought it. The dragon quickly takes to the skies to prepare for a breath attack. In an attempt to defend themselves and their holy land, everyone joins hands just as the dragon unleashes its attack, decimating the island and seemingly vaporizing everyone. When the attack dissipates, Zeref realizes that it is all over as the island is no more. The Magic Council tries to find survivors, with no success. Acknowledge disappears once again. 7 years have passed since the destruction of Tenru Island, and Romeo can both stares out at the sea. Biska and Alzak, now married, tell Romeo their job is done and they should head back to the guild, as they don't want Makao to worry about his son. Biska tries to comfort Romeo, but Alzak stops her. At the Fairy Tale Guild, now a small tavern, Makao, the new guild master, is angry Romeo hasn't come home yet. Wakaba, now Makao's advisor, tells him to calm down, which ends in the two arguing. Max and Warren complain about the lack of jobs, as their guild is so small, while Lackey makes fun of Droy, who is now fat. Jet also insults Droy, and tells him even Redus has trimmed down. Redus points out he was slim in the first place, anyways. When Levy is mentioned, and somebody shouts about how she is never coming back, everybody becomes silent. Just then, members of Twilight Ogre come into the guild and ask for their payment for the month. One of the members reminds Makao how Fairy Tale is no longer the strongest guild in Magnolia, and how Twilight Ogre had helped Fairy Tale keep their tavern after they started to fade out. He then kicks Makao in the face. Just when everyone is about to fight, Makao yells at them not to. The Twilight Ogre mages all leave after trashing the guild, and warn Makao they will be back next month. After they leave, everyone notices a painting of Makarov that had fallen out of Redus' sketchbook. They look through all the other pictures of the guild 7 years ago. Everyone reminisces on that day and how Acknowledge destroyed Tenru Island and left a strange emptiness in the Eternano waters. Makao gets up and starts crying, saying how Romeo has never smiled ever since that day. Just then, Blue Pegasus arrives on Christina. Ichiya Vandalay Katabuki and the Trimans come to the ground, and after patronizing Lackey, they reveal they have detected something in the Eternano waters. Ichiya then states that Tenru Island still exists. Based on the information received from Blue Pegasus, the guild forms a search party consisting of Biska, Alzak, Max, Warren, Jet, and Droy, and sets out to the Eternano waters in an attempt to locate their missing members. However, upon arrival, the guild does not see any sign of Tenru Island still existing. While Jet and Droy remain positive that they'll get to see Levy again, most of the members feel that they shouldn't get their hopes up. At that moment, the despondent group notices a girl standing on the surface of the ocean. As the girl lifted her hands, the waters began to rage behind her and Tenru Island emerges from the ocean, encased in a bubble-like barrier with the fairy tale insignia on it. She then begins heading towards the resurfaced island with the search party chasing behind, believing that she will lead them to where everyone is. Shortly upon arriving on the island, the party finds an unconscious Natsu buried beneath some dirt and debris. Back at the Fairy Tale Guild, Makao asks Romeo if it was a good idea for him not to join the search party. Romeo replies that even if Tenru Island was found, there is no knowing if everyone survived as 7 years have gone by without any word from them. Just then, Thibault and his group of Twilight Ogre members barge in again, jeering the guild and belittling it. When Wakaba tells them that their payment is only due next month, Thibault retorted that they were acting on the orders of their master, who feels that it is a problem if payments are not made on schedule. Having heard Thibault's remarks, as well as feeling upset at his guild's cowardice, Romeo prepares to fight back, demonstrating his new ability to conjure fire. However, his attempt proves to be futile as Thibault easily extinguishes his fire by simply blowing it out. Annoyed by Romeo's resistance, Thibault raises his war club and prepares to strike. Just as Thibault's attack is about to land, he is sent flying by a kick from a silhouette. As everyone looks in surprise, the remaining members of Twilight Ogre having already been knocked out by several other unseen characters. With a familiar smile, it is revealed that all the missing S-Class Mage promotion trial candidates have returned to the guild. While Makarov comments on how small the guild has gotten, his guild members note that everyone still looks young and has not aged a single day since their disappearance. Without a doubt, everyone was overjoyed with tears that the guild is finally reunited. It is then explained that after the search party had woken Natsu up, they ran into the mysterious girl again who now revealed herself to be Mavis Vermilion, the first master and founder of Fairy Tail. Although unable to believe their ears and more than surprised to see Mavis in person, the party continues to locate the other missing members. Having assembled everyone, Mavis proceeds to explain how the island had survived Acknowledge's attack. By amassing everyone's faith and bonds and converting them into magic power, the guild's unanimous thoughts and feelings activated Fairy Sphere, one of the 3 great fairy magics and an absolute defensive magic that will protect the guild from all evil. However, due to Fairy Sphere's activation, everyone was sealed in a state of stasis for the entire 7 years they were missing. Though Makarov comments that they were protected by Mavis, she states that she is just an ethereal body and that the guild's unwavering faith and resilience will even create miracles. In return, Mavis notes that the guild has grown wonderfully and praises Makarov for it. As Makarov finishes up his explanation to the guild, Natsu notices Romeo and comments how he is all grown up. Tears began to fill up his eyes as Romeo heartily welcomes them back with a smile that has not been seen for 7 years. The guild celebrates the return of their missing members with a party that lasts 3 days. During that time, some revelations come up. Natsu learns from Romeo that he can change the property of his fire such as cold, stinky or purple like his dad. He also mentions that he received lessons from the ex-Phantom Lord member Tadamaru, though he hasn't told his father about it. Meanwhile, Makao offers Makarov's position of guild master back, but Makarov lets him keep it, much to his surprise. Erza is shocked that Biska and Alzak are married, and when asked by Lasana if they have any children, they reveal they have one daughter named Asuka. Wendy looks over some of Redus's artwork and finds a picture of her more grown up. However, she is dumbstruck that he forgot to figure her breasts into the drawing. Carla also doesn't approve of his drawing of the Exceeds with more humanoid bodies. Happy brings up that their fellow Exceeds were probably worried about them, though Patherlily comments that time travels differently for them and the years that passed probably won't seem like a big deal. It's then that members of Lamia Scale come to visit, with Max revealing that they helped out with the search for Tenru Island along with Blue Pegasus. The Lamia mages also reveal that they've climbed to be the number 2 guild in Fiore over the years. Leon spots Juvia and is instantly smitten with her, throwing her into bewilderment of all the possible love triangles in the guild, while Gildarts asks the others about his connection to Kana, much to her embarrassment. The celebration continues on, but Lucy notes the bitterness of the 7 years that have passed and how hard it must have been to wait for any news of their missing members. She soon returns back to her old residence but is met by her landlady who, while happy she's alright, demands a back payment of 5 million jewels for her house or she won't let her in. Since Lucy doesn't have the money to pay her, she worries what to do. Thinking how the others must have the same trouble, her thoughts soon turn to Kana and Gildarts reminding her of her own father. Lucy then decides to pay him a visit. The rest of the missing members are also finding out the harsh realities of their absence. Alzak and Biska go to talk to Erza about Jello. Jura talks to Makarov about a certain guild and Zeref. Leon tells Gray what happened to Altair and Meredy. And Natsu and Happy find out their savings are gone from their house. The next day, Lucy heads to a Califa town, with Natsu and Happy following as they hope Lucy's father can help them with their money trouble. They soon reach the market guild, Love and Lucky, where Lucy asks the clerk where Jude Heartfilia is. The clerk reluctantly informs Lucy that he passed away a month ago, much to Lucy's shock. Lucy goes to visit her parents' graves before heading back with Natsu and Happy in tow, with the two being worried about her. The 3 pass by 2 girls who are obnoxiously talking bad about their fathers. Natsu yells at them for this, but Lucy calls him off and apologizes for making them worry. She explains that her relationship with her father wasn't the best, especially after the Phantom incident. But after the encounter in the Califa, it changed for the better. Yet, after hearing of his death, she couldn't bring herself to cry and wonders if she really did hate her father. Natsu assures her, however, that that's not the case. Meanwhile, Makarov, along with Erza and Mirajane, is talking with the leader of Twilight Ogre, Bonabuster, about the money Fairy Tail owes them. Bonabuster constantly keeps demanding they pay him. Makarov assures him that Fairy Tail always pays back what they owe, including pain, which he informs Bonabuster they owe Twilight Ogre for 7 years of mistreating their guild. Erza, Mirajane and he proceed to trash the Twilight Ogre Guild, much to the chagrin of Makao and Wakaba, who wait outside, having believed that Makarov would just talk things out. Natsu and Happy happen among them and are told of what's going on in the Twilight Ogres Guild, but Natsu ignores the excuse to fight, much to Makao and Wakaba's surprise. Lucy is at the town's fountain moping when the landlady finds her and drags her back to her house and throws her inside. Lucy is surprised to find that the place is still clean after 7 years, to which the landlady replies that she kept it clean, but also took some of Lucy's clothes. She also directs Lucy to some presents on her dresser, telling that one came every year on her birthday for 7 years, including one that came that morning. Lucy goes to it and sees a letter for her from her father. Reading it reveals that Jude had heard about her missing status but believed she was alright, and that, despite how busy he had gotten, he really did truly love her as a daughter. Lucy cries upon finishing the letter and indeed realizes she loved him too. Natsu and Happy come by as they had found a job and invite Lucy to come along with them. The landlady tells the two to give her some time, also mentioning that her father has sent her 7 years of rent, meaning she has her place again. But Lucy cheers up and calls for Natsu and Happy to wait up. This is the end of the third part of the anime.